the tertiary deck for Bunnyhoppor. When we get to that game 2 point, he will assuredly be moving on to the double Big Game Hunter, second copy of Brawl, double Super Collider, where we remove some stuff that's kind of useless against Thijs' deck. Thijs is going to move over to a much more greedy game plan that includes 2 Astromancers, Hexlord, Malacras, Archmage, Antonidas, and Stargazer Luna. But for now, they're having a fight with what you just saw on your screen there. And if you're looking to copy either of these decks, go back and find that spot in the VOD, scan that QR code. That is functioning, and that will load up the deck list for you. Yeah. Don't need to be one of those people that has to go crop the full deck list code and then take out the couple of hashtags in there and remove all the deck list stuff. Just scan that code.
The nerds, as I call them. Who does that? Yeah, this is one of the best things about Specialist format. Much easier to just be playing what the pros are playing in the highest level of competitive Hearthstone. Give it a go on ladder and see how you fare.
So Bunnyhoppor on coin for this one. Something to note about Thijs' deck is it is a little bit more tuned to fight if he gets slightly behind on board. With the pair of Frost Novas, with a pair of Rabble Bouncers, he doesn't have quite as much oomph at the top end. He's cut out a copy of Sea Giant, but it does a lot better job, I think, of once it secures a board, being able to make a counter push very effectively.
Yeah, I think losing the one copy of Sea Giant is really not too devastating in this matchup. It rarely gets to a position where you can cast Conjurer's Calling on it on the same turn, which is, it's still useful if you can get down a Khadgar into mirror image play to really fill up the board with those 4 mirror images and then slam down the Sea Giant. But for the most part, I would still definitely put Thijs in the lead, especially when he finds himself double Arcane Intellect and a Conjurer's Call. If he finds himself a Mountain Giant off of either of these 2 card draw effects, he is sitting very pretty.
There's a lot of mage decks over the years that have utilized Arcane Intellect, and obviously so. It's 3 mana, draw 2 cards. It helps you find some key stuff. It's very rare that we've had a mage deck that both wants to build its hand to a sizable number of cards for the purpose of taking advantage of that, and at the same time need to find those cards. Like, I feel like that's one of the reasons this mage deck is so powerful, is that one of its most key cards to the class in Arcane Intellect is really shining maximally in this deck.
I fully agree. I think this mage deck is just a whole bunch of really gorgeous synergies that work together so nicely. The fact that you have a bunch of freeze effects in Ray of Frost and the Frost Nova as well means your opponent's minions can't sacrifice themselves into yours. So Rabble Bouncer becomes more powerful, Sea Giant becomes more powerful. Like you said, the card draw gets you the cards you want that get better the more cards you have in hand. It's a lot of reasonably powerful things that come together to become devastatingly strong.
I mean, getting extra cards is already pretty good. When your extra cards help you get extra board, that help you get extra cards, and then duplicate themselves once they're in play, it's just so much that's happening. It's like...
It's just a lot, all right, guys. Let's just dial it back a notch.
Just cool down, mage. Just cool off. You're doing too much.
This mage deck is undeniably doing too much. I think that's one of the criticisms people have with it, is there's just too much going on. You can't do all the things you want to do in the deck at once, which is why I think we may see... this is not the final evolution of the deck. It will develop from here.
Sometimes take a sip of his tea.
It's one of his big hobbies, actually. What a privilege to be part of Tea Time with Thijs.
One of his other hobbies is making very inquisitive faces while he's playing Hearthstone. I've noticed that about Thijs a lot in competition, is he has a lot of facial expression.
Well, I often say that Thijs' face is like a mage deck. There's just a lot going on there.
He's been saying it for years.
Yeah.
It's a classic Derek Brown statement.
And I'm probably going to lose that Twitter follow I got from him just a couple days ago. As we can see here from Thijs, I mean, we saw pretty much exactly what was going to happen in his starting hand as soon as the double Arcane Intellect entered a few turns ago. He unfortunately cannot go Giant plus the Conjurer's Calling on the same turn unless he picks up off the top the Elemental Evocation to reduce the cost of the Giant by 2, but because you've spent a card, it only reduces it by 1. 2-mana Giant plus the 3-mana Conjurer's Calling would get him a lovely big board.
This is a really scary hand for Thijs, though. I mean, Bunnyhoppor is going to be able to apply some pressure here. I imagine Omega Devastator is likely hitting the board this turn and just keep the heat going. But Thijs has Frost Nova, and he's got Mountain Giant, Conjurer's Calling, and if either of those big drops survive, he has a Khadgar to back that up.
Yeah,
so
this hand's crazy.
What's going to happen is he's going to suffer some damage, but it feels like he's likely to run Bunnyhoppor pretty much out of cards in the next couple turns.
However, Bunnyhoppor is very much relying on just trying to win in the early game. We said this is what his game plan was going to have to be, and he has done this admirably. And I guarantee you as well, the fact that he has exactly 4 minions in play, or rather, he considered very carefully whether to play the Omega Devastator, I should say there, because he will have figured out Rabble Bouncer goes down to 3, he cannot go Rabble Bouncer plus the Conjurer's Calling on the same turn, I'm allowed to play it.
I think even in the face of that, he's likely playing it with the curve of the Ziliax. Just a chill win Yeti.
I mean, I guess in a bad seeming matchup like this, you've got to take those risks. They don't have that.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's started to shift quite a bit too. Like, you know, the opinion for at least the start of the Mage deck was that Warrior was massively unfavored. The deck was chocked full of minions. It had Book of Specters, and as it moved towards Cyclone Mage, with the Mana Cyclones instead, people were saying that it was Warrior favored. And then as the deck started to become more refined, it has really begun to sway my opinion where I think it is Mage favored. They can just keep plopping stuff on the board, and even though you answer it, they don't stop after that. It keeps plopping stuff on the board.
Right. I think I somewhat agree with you there. This Mage deck that Thijs has, I would say is unfavored against most Warriors that you would be facing. However, I think it takes such a tiny bit of tinkering with the deck to really quite skyrocket your win percentage against Warrior. For example, 5 cards would really do the trick.
Also, just the matchup against Bomb Warrior. You're not always facing a Control Warrior deck.
That's a good point.
I think Control Warrior in the first game of this can definitely substantiate an edge, and at the very least make a better argument for it than Bomb Warrior can. Bomb Warrior has to do a lot, I feel like, to really secure that advantage. It has to continue to check threats, and it has to have like the bomb curve in order to pressure the fact that, you know, Thijs will often need to go deeper into the deck to win the game.
It has to do something like this, and also you have to hope that your opponent doesn't get an amazing giant curve. And it has to be said, I think pretty much every game that we've seen so far in Grandmasters with Mage has gone giant into Conjurer's Calling on turn 6. Like, they've had that every single time without fail.
7/7 Divine Shield loaded
Take
up
that.
now.
And this is where it gets very interesting, because that big preloaded threat onto the board of the 7/7 with Divine Shield for Bunnyhoppor means that Mountain Giant Conjurer's Calling is not an autoplay anymore. Still very much a consideration, but you've got to be careful.
Yeah, I mean, Bunnyhoppor has that checked right now. It's you run the Elec in, you run the Acolyte of Pain in, you use Dynomatic, and the 7/7, and you're looking at like a full clear.
That's a full clear.
Yeah.
Every time.
Honestly, I'm curious if you have to run in the Acolyte of Pain. I think you do. Yes, you would have to run the Acolyte of Pain.
And then it's the exact right amount, right?
It's 1 over at that point. You have a 5th ping from the Dynomatic that's being wasted.
Well, you'd need that because the 7 attack minion could only kill.
Oh, you're
7.
right.
It's
I'm
exactly
crazy.
the right amount.
Yeah, I was thinking 7. I was thinking a Grave Robber in my head, which is parsed to 7 health in my head for some reason. Because I'm just.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Conjurer's Calling getting the Grave Harp, and then 7 registered as health in my head.
However, I think Thijs probably went through what we said in 40 seconds in about 2, and then spent the rest of his turn considering what else has to be considered this turn. And I think he came to a very nice conclusion indeed. Preloading the Mountain Giant on the board. This isn't being cleared by Shield Slam, unless it's exactly Weapons Project Hero Power plus the Shield Slam.
Wow, this is actually really cool because Bunnyhoppor has no way in the main deck that directly checks it other than Shield Slam.
Yeah, it has to be exactly Weapons Project Shield Slam.
With no armor, you're not Shield Slamming.
Apart from Weapons Project Shield Slam.
Apart from Weapons Project Shield Slam. But that takes Bunnyhopper's entire turn.
Yeah.
And then you deviate. You go into Rabble Bouncer with Conjurer's Calling instead.
No. Oh, yeah, if that happens. And if it doesn't, which it won't, Thijs gets to have a lot of fun here, where he goes ping, then value trade, Khadgar, plus the Conjurer's Calling.
Bunnyhoppor lands no hits on the Mountain Giant, which it's actually a pretty devastating deal. If he had hit one single Dynomatic Bomb onto the Mountain Giant, no value trade. Wow. All right, well,
So unfortunate.
Bunnyhoppor's in trouble.
Because now, even though Bunnyhoppor has the ability to go for Brawl on this huge turn that Thijs is making, all board development he has been working so hard to develop over the first turns of this game then disappears.
Wow.
That's pretty powerful.
So now my question for Bunnyhoppor is, do you cash in the extra card for Acolyte, or do you want to increase your chance to win a brawl?
I don't know. I think you'd rather have the other minion that can win the Brawl.
I think with Dr. Boom in hand, it's likely that you can forego the extra card, and that winning the brawl can be paramount to your victory.
Yeah, you have to Brawl. I was looking if there's anything else he could do. Like,
I always look for a way to not brawl.
Well,
I'm like, this
it's
card is
always
so important.
Because I always just say, okay, you have to Brawl, then they never do. So I'm thinking, maybe they can not Brawl here, but with all this damage on board,
It's a bit
you've got to
much.
Brawl. Yeah. And he's going for foregoing the card. I think I agree with this.
Thijs nods. Like, yeah, that's right, you brawl.
Sips his tea.
And does not
There we go.
win that brawl. And that means Thijs gets to load the second wave into play. Conjurer's Calling finds a magic trick.
And there is no check on Thijs' power here. There is no more Brawl in the deck for Bunnyhoppor. Only one copy in his primary. So he can just go off.
Yeah, Bunnyhopper's dead. Don't forget infinite magic tricks.
That many magic tricks is like your uncle who does the same trick every time you see him. You're like, you know what? I get it, Ian. All right, it was fun the first time.
But just please.
Stop making mountain giants, all right?
Just please. That fills Thijs' hand to 10, I believe.
That required sound effects, in case you were curious.
Yeah, it did.
Yep. Absolutely, you go all in. There is nothing to stop you.
Now, why did he use that elemental evocation? He had 9.
I don't know. He wanted to play research. It didn't matter.
Because it doesn't matter is the reason.
Yeah. This is where you turn your brain off as Thijs.
Spend mana, do things. You got it.
You cannot lose this game. It is impossible.
No, it's not 24. Hang on, 24. How much? 31, 32, 33, 34, 36 damage is loaded up.